Magnus Carlsen was on a blast, defeating almost every single player in the Tata Steel 2019 Blitz tournament with utter domination. But even though Magnus was in first place, this tournament wasn't over yet, with Magnus's next opponent being his most powerful opponent yet. This is Viswanathan Anand, one of the greatest players of all time, having defeated multiple world champions before actually becoming the world champion, which Magnus later stole after defeating him in the 2014 World Championship. While for Magnus this was just another tough game, for Anand, this was time for his revenge. After starting the match and beginning the clock, Anand starts with e4, which Magnus responds to with d5, which Anand takes and Magnus retakes, this opening being known as the Scandinavian defense. Anand thinks for a few seconds before attacking Magnus's queen, which Magnus is forced to move away. After some standard developing moves, Anand plays his knight e4, attacking both Magnus's knight and queen, which Magnus happily trades down, with Magnus soon after attacking Anand's bishop, forcing him to retreat it before playing his queen to d5, trading down their knight and queens. Anand knows this is bad news, as fighting Magnus Carlsen in an endgame is always very dangerous, meaning Anand must play perfectly here. Magnus plays his pawn to e6, then looks up at the sky for a few seconds, a sign that he is calculating the rest of the game in his head. Anand attacks Magnus's knight, which Magnus moves away, and Anand attacks again with his other bishop, but this does pretty much nothing. It's at this stage of the game Magnus knows it's his time to strike, so he moves his king to d7, after which Anand retreats, knowing he's now on the defensive. Magnus is about to launch a ruthless attack, and Anand must fight perfectly to survive this if he wants to win. Being a few seconds slower on the clock, Magnus quickly starts his attack by moving his pawn to g6, which after some thought, Anand responds to with moving his rook to d1. After a quick attack on the left side of the board, trading off pawns, Magnus plays his rook to b8 before offering a rook trade, while Anand is clearly hesitant about this trade, knowing the endgame will only help Magnus, he eventually accepts it. Magnus then thinks for the longest time he has so far in the match, before trading off the knight and bishop, making this his favorite stage of the match, as it is in these types of positions where Magnus is usually able to completely demolish his opponents. Magnus moves his rook up, and another set of pawns are traded off before Anand plays his pawn to a4, allowing Magnus to win a pawn with en passant, which was not good news for the former world champion. But while Magnus now has a slightly better position, Anand has the time advantage, meaning if he can hold Magnus off long enough, there will be a chance he could win the game on time. After a couple more moves are played, a last set of pawns are traded off, with Magnus giving an annoyed expression. Knowing the position is equal and his time was running low, Magnus attacks Anand's bishop, looking to further trade down the position, but Anand declines, defending his bishop, which makes Magnus think again before moving his rook back. Anand now surprisingly offers a rook trade, which Magnus quickly moves away from, showing Magnus does not want to draw. He wants blood. Anand quickly makes a move, knowing he has to play fast on the clock if he wants to win this game. The players shuffle back and forth, and though both players are playing amazingly, Anand looks more unsure of his moves, multiple times changing his mind, while Magnus seems calm and confident. Magnus checks Anand with his rook, forcing him to move back before bringing his bishop around to limit all of Anand's king movement. Anand quickly brings his bishop back, trying to defend, but after having to move his bishop to d1, Magnus checks his king, which after Anand moves, Magnus follows up by attacking his bishop. While Anand is still not lost, Magnus Carlsen is in a much better position, and the time is starting to even out. Anand moves his bishop back, allowing Magnus to check his king again. Magnus then brings his bishop closer, limiting almost all movement of Anand's king. It is at this moment Anand realizes he's completely losing losing, and Magnus knows this too. Anand brings his bishop to c6, looking to retreat it to g2 to defend his pawn from Magnus's marching king. Magnus then brings his king closer before checking Anand one final time before delivering the final blow, bishop e3. This attacks the f4 pawn, which after Magnus attacks with his rook, he will be able to win yet another pawn, giving Magnus a completely winning endgame and destroying all of Anand's chances of survival. With this, Viswanathan Anand resigns this game, allowing Magnus Carlsen to win the match and go on to win the entire tournament.